Hey, good morning. How are you guys doing today? I hope amazing. So, we're back with the course that we're auditing for free from Harvard's online program. It's Rhetoric, the Art of Persuasive Writing and Public Speaking. And of course, if you're interested in trying or looking over courses that you might want to try, I did leave a link in the description below. So we are at the last module of the course finally, and so we have concluded the majority of the work. I did kind of preview for it. It looks like we do have a pretty extensive amount of reading left for the course. Um, and of course, I still do have some of the videos to listen to off the actual class lectures. There's 25 full hours of class lectures outside of what I've shown you guys online through the coursework. And then there's actually reading too, which, let's just be honest, burns up about 10 to 15 extra hours. And so this is a fascinating course. It has been a little bit more work than I had planned on when I chose to take it. But let's just be honest, we're getting a lot of healthy intellectual development out of it, and so can't complain too much. So let's move forward. Rhetoric and social media, right? We all know social media has. Ooh, let's get chat up. I apologize, I almost forgot to do that today. Yeah, so then we'll move forward. Let's get chat up, then, hey, let's move forward. Yeah, that's a great idea. I do hope you guys are all doing freaking amazing today. I'm doing awesome. I got some coffee going on. I haven't looked to see if the wildfires are still way out of control where I live or not, but it's actually miles and miles away from me, not anywhere near me, but like two or three canyons or something. I don't know. It's not getting down this way. Let's just say that. Okay, social media. The following essay on rhetoric and social media is adapted from remarks Professor Engel made in spring of 2024. I, I'll go along with that. Whenever a person opens or uses a social media account, that person should see a label like the one put on toxic, though useful chemicals. Danger. Handle with care. Excessive or improper use may lead to harm. Prolonged use may endanger your health. Permanent damage to the body or to the body politic may result. Okay, not totally going to disagree. It's just a medium of communication, but all mediums of communication could be abused, right? It's 5 a.m. I'm trying to get some coffee in us so we can be logical and a contributing person at this point. As with any practice of rhetoric, the rhetoric used on social media can accomplish great good or contribute to considerable evil. It is relatively new avatar of rhetoric, and as with all previous uses of rhetoric, must be understood, tamed, and, if possible, put into service of virtue. The rhetoric of social media is now pervasive and powerful. In general, it is relatively short: a tweet, a post, a comment, a paragraph, and often condenses together facts or falsehoods and opinions. It acquires special force with the possibility of going viral. It can achieve almost immediate name recognition and temporary fame for an individual. It can also severely and almost irreparably damage a person's reputation. Rhetoric on social media can spread like wildfire. At the end of this essay is a list of features that more fully characterize the rhetoric of social media. But before we get there, some remarks about social media at large. Just okay. So, who has a social media account? At least one. I think everybody in this class is going to say they do because they're all college students at Harvard, right? I don't mean that you might watch YouTube or something forward, or someone forwards you something from Facebook, or that you have a Netflix account, but that you have actual social media accounts, perhaps more than one, and that you use it to communicate with others, to read things about others or about events or issues, or to post and repost images or videos, an account with a password. You can include Gmail or other email accounts only if you use other services related to that account, such as Google Groups. Well, I for sure use social media, right? Not confusing. We're making a YouTube video right now. So, what does that company or other companies that it deals with know about you? Pretty much everything, you guys. Because they use data they gather about you to produce psychographic profiles. They may know more about you than you do. For example, from shopping habits, likes and dislikes, connections with others, types of images you view, etc. They may know whether you're married, what political party you favor, whether you have alcohol or drug problems, what your income seems to be, what sexual orientation you have, what time you usually get up, what your love life is like, are you having an affair, and on and on. You and other users are providing all the content, and in some cases, these companies are charging you. At the least, these companies are likely bombarding you with advertising. If you react to the advertising in a certain way, they then know even more about you. Companies can aggregate and sell everything they know about you, just about anyone else to just about anyone else who will pay. That information can make its way to the police and authorities. These companies may keep your information into perpetuity, basically forever. When was the last time you read all the terms and services that you agree to when you open an account? Let's just be honest. Nobody really does that unless you're doing it for some competitive event. I did actually read the terms and services while I was in college to Facebook at one point, but it was because I was going to go to debate at a competitive event for the college I was going to, and we knew that they would ask us if we had read it. And so we read it for the purposes of being able to say we did. And I'm going to let you know, when the judge asked if we read it, and even though we said yes we did, I could see in his face he didn't believe us. So it didn't matter. I mean, it just kind of cracked me up. I'll offer some remarks critical of social media, and so. At the outset, note that social media can be and has been a force for good, personally, socially, and even politically. I had a friend with Parkinson's disease. His Facebook account was a lifetime. There are many such cases. Groups of people can get together in ways unimaginable before the event of social media. Good news can spread faster. Unfortunately, studies have shown that fake news spreads much faster. Good to know. I mean, I've never read the studies, but I believe it. Social media can be addictive. It can literally change numerous brain connections, especially in the developing mind of young people. It can also isolate us, magnify bullying, spread lies and propaganda, be used to influence elections, and of course, it has become an avenue for cyber crimes and scams in which young and elderly are most vulnerable. With the advent of artificial intelligence and deepfakes, it is possible to impersonate someone with video and voice in a way that is, even for experts, exceptionally hard to detect. Some facts about social media. Aggregated data from social media and other online accounts a few years ago surpassed oil as the world's most valuable asset. The data is worth trillions with a T. Much of it is up for sale all of the time. I did not know that. That kind of shocks me a little bit, but not 100% where you're like, ooh, you can't believe that. Some social media platforms can alter facial images and body images to include yours. It's all in the what the heck? It's all in the interminably. Oh, I don't know how to say this word, and I don't know this word. Okay, looking up a word for the day again. We do a lot of looking up words. Interminably. Okay, I'm going to need the how to say it. Pronunciation. Give us it.
Interminably.
Interminably. Why was that not? Okay, interminably. Never mind. I do know that word. I don't know why I was unable to read it there, but whatever. They can change your weight, your skin tone. They can even create images of people who do not actually exist, but who look as real as the face you see in your own mirror. Okay. I'm going to get some more coffee in. As I'm reading, I'm realizing we're not really awake. I know, it's 5 a.m., guys. Okay, part of the trick of social media is getting and keeping attention by algorithms. What gets and keeps attention online? How can a company secure your attention repeatedly and for long stretches of time? If a company has the right algorithm, my mustache is tickling my nose like crazy, like one hair or something like that. Okay, if a company has the right algorithm, it can hook you like a fish and reel you in. And it can do so in a way that seems that it has been personalized to fit you, your use, your habits, your proclivities. This, for example, is what has made TikTok so popular with hundreds of millions of people. Millions of people spend so wait. Is what has made TikTok so popular and why hundreds of millions of people spend so much time on it. Sorry about that. It is also true that hatred, tribal identity, division, dehumanization, narcissism, lack of empathy, sensationalism, shame, humiliation, and all of our more, I don't know this one, atavistic impulses. I'm going to make sure we're pronouncing that right.
Atavistic. Atavistic.
Atavistic. Okay, we've got it. Atavistic impulses, the ones not seated in the front of our lobe of our brains, but in the regions with less executive control and judgment, also come into play on social media with a force rarely experienced in personal encounters face to face. These emotions, impulses, and prejudices are subject to manipulation and magnification by social media. As former President Obama said, I think there's a demand for crazy on the internet. Whatever captures and holds attention, or rather not holds attention for long periods of time, but keeps attention flickering from place to place, which actually shortens our attention span, with the express purpose of moving your shortened attention span to yet another page or ad or post, and doing so endlessly. That is the object of wait. That is the object of much of social media, and how it is engineered, how the code for it is written. When one algorithm is chosen over another, it is often because of a value judgment has already been made. Something is being optimized, while something else is given less priority. And therefore, other things can be ignored. Netflix does this. The Boston Public School did it for school choice, but then discovered that in general, more affluent families were gaming the system. Oh, big shock. The more families that have their shit together were gaming the system better than the people that don't have their shit together. That's not shocking. Gaming the algorithm and doing it more effectively and more often than poorer families. And so the school system changed the algorithm to level the playing field. Zoe Hitzig, PhD candidate in economics at Harvard, studied the last example. I love how they give their own PhD candidate. Hey, good morning, Andrell. I hope you're having a great day. Them giving their own PhD candidate a shout out like this is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, I think it is at least to give him a little attention on his way out, right? Okay, this is one that I actually really do think I think that children need to be off social media. I actually don't like the fact that, and I make videos. It doesn't affect me if children aren't on social media because my viewer base obviously is like 30 plus, zone, because not a lot of kids are waking up to watch people take Harvard courses or write books. But reality is, I see sometimes the type of stuff my daughter sees on the phone when I'll give her it to kind of occupy, and then I'm immediately taking it away because I realize she's watching something that I see as absolutely inappropriate and unacceptable. And so I'm going to just be honest with you guys. Smartphones and the excess of toxic content by children in our society is actually an issue. Young people, on average, consult their phones or devices 400 times each day. This addiction, as shown by medical grade scans, reveals the same patterns in the brain and does as does addiction to alcohol, cocaine, or gambling. It provides a stimulus that prompts a craving that then demands another stimulus. Author Brooks in The Atlantic, April 21st of 2021, noted that Americans who have one or more social media accounts spend on average of 142 minutes per day on social media, more than 2 hours. For young people, it is usually longer, twice as long or more. Recently, 2020 to 2021 MIT study indicated that on Twitter, now called X, lies spread 6 times faster than the truth. Many studies in psychology have shown that the more mediated and anonymous a communication is, the more likely it contains falsehoods. Who lies and why? When do we learn to consciously lie? When do we learn consciously to lie? About the age of 4, social media companies may try to block certain posts or statements that are, for example, direct personal threats of violence, but in general, they permit lies. Lies often garner attention. They often build into conspiracy theories. This is a reason that in many legal systems, whoever is accused has the right to face in court the person or people who are making the accusation. Whomever is accused has the right to see or hear in person, face to face, accusers, witnesses, and anyone giving evidence. A jury and judge are there in person to, except perhaps during COVID-19, which was ridiculous. They didn't say the ridiculous part, I will say it. This system has been set up because, over extended periods of human experiences, be found the truth is more likely to come out of this type of setting rather than to say in text messages or video chats. Since even in courtroom truth is not guaranteed, you can imagine that it is far less guaranteed in a setting where you are not looking someone in the eye, in the flesh, where you may not really know who they are, when you may be totally anonymous. And I agree, the amount of anonymous people that just puke crap out on the internet is actually an issue to a point. Okay. Recent case study. Francis Haig was what is called a whistleblower, someone who has revealed unpleasant, even criminal truths about an employer, a company, or a government. She worked for Facebook. She was a data scientist and a product manager. See the New York Times article from October 5th, 6th, and 25th of 2021. We could look at those. I'm not going to this morning. If you guys want to, I think that's awesome. In testimony she gave to the U.S. Congress and in other statements, she said that Facebook, whose parent company is Meta, valued engagement and growth more than online safety. For example, Facebook could not and still cannot effectively police anti-vaccine information. Well, the government was providing a huge amount of that misinformation. See how they're not worried about pro-vaccine misinformation, just anti-vaccine misinformation. Like, just is what it is. I'm going to just say that they're only worried in one direction. Serious misuse that endangered public health. She said that Instagram is a danger for children. She strongly suggested that Facebook weakens democracy by polluting the information landscape with things that are false. She confirmed that the use of Facebook was making the anxiety of teenagers worse, that it was contributing to eating disorders. See the book by Catherine Aramarad. I think I butchered her name, but um, listed at the end of the section. Hagen testified that the certain national foreign governments, including those of Iran and China, used the Facebook platform to conduct surveillance and espionage. It is possible that many countries do so. It is also true and confirmed that some individuals, especially young people, teenagers, and even preteens, have committed suicide after interacting on social media and experiencing harassment. Threats, bullying, humiliation, the spread of lies about them, and spreading of truth that they wanted desperately to keep private. Hagen, in her many hours of testimony before the U.S. Senate, said Facebook products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safe, but won't make the necessary changes. Many senators of both parties said the top executives at Facebook had misled the public. Later, in 2024, the U.S. Congress held a hearing in which many parents sat in the audience holding up pictures of their children who had committed the thing because they felt driven to it by what was being said about them or said to them on social media. These are not isolated cases. Facebook answered to Hagen's testimony was largely to deny her statements, but then to say that the new rules for the internet were long overdue. But that's a little like big oil saying publicly that they want a price on carbon, but then privately lobbying and giving political contributions to undercut every effort to tax carbon. Taxing stuff just makes it go up in price. It actually doesn't help anybody. I don't want them to tax my carbon so they can give that money to some crap hole other country. I'm just being honest, guys. I'm not for a carbon tax. I'm not for any of that. Pushing regulations off to Congress is done knowing how unlikely that will be, or if it does occur, that the regulations will be weak and watered down and filled with loopholes intentionally drilled. Facebook said it is time for Congress to act. But then social media companies have objected to almost every specific form of regulation or law that governs their operations. They counter that they want to defend freedom of speech, that they are not responsible for the actual content on their platform, which I actually don't agree. I believe because they selectively decide what will be on their platform, they are a publisher under the eyes of the law, and they should be sued the shit out of, just to be honest. And that they have a huge number of people trying to catch pernicious activity. I've reported bad activity on multiple accounts. 99% of the time you can report naughty activity, they do nothing about it. I'm just going to be honest. I actually believe social media overall allows huge amounts of super toxic and even pro-terrorist content to be actively pumped out. They do not give a crap. Just being honest. YouTube and children. Until early 2020, YouTube ran targeted ads for children and a direct violation of the Children's Online Privacy Act of the United States, which prohibited tracking and targeting any user under the age of 12. To do so in child consumer... Wait. I'm trying to understand if this is out of context. Is real. Wait, I'm trying to understand this. Is this really true? Okay, until early 2020, YouTube ran targeted ads for children, a direct violation of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act of the United States, which prohibited targeting and tracking any user under the age of 12. To do so is child consumer pornography? That doesn't necessarily make sense to me that that would be that, but I might not have context with what kind of ads they were flashing on them or anything else. So without context, I'm not going to weigh into that. Seems like a pretty big deal, though. But YouTube knowingly did this until it was caught. It knew it was breaking the law. YouTube said it couldn't tell for sure whether a child under 12 was watching content expressly designed for children under 12, or even under 8 or 6 for that matter. That was its excuse. YouTube paid $170 million in September of 2019 to settle the FCTC action. It seemed that YouTube may have made more than that amount by running that targeted ads. Oh, so they made more money than they paid in fines. That kind of makes it not that good of a fine. To YouTube, the fine, however large it may seem, was just the cost of doing business, and maybe, in the end, the illegal part of the business even yielded a profit. Note that the principles of the authenticity, safety, privacy, dignity that they were first suggested to Facebook Oversight Board by Noah Feldman at Harvard Law School. I don't know about that. I don't know this. Note the principle. Okay. How well have these worked? I don't actually know them. One would have to say better than nothing, but not very well. I actually don't know about that. So I'm going to assume that we cover this in one of the lectures I'm behind on right now, because I haven't got to that section or whatever. I literally couldn't tell you. Okay, elements of social media and the online world. The role of cookies is a bit ambiguous in social media. Ubiquitous in social media, advertising, and web pages. Cookies track the way you use and navigate a particular website. They can also track your visits to other websites. Sometimes you have the options to change cookie settings, but some websites don't even let you know this. Europe has strong regulations about cookies, consent, and stronger regulations about cookies, consent, and tracking than the United States has. Learn the difference between these three: information, misinformation, and disinformation. Disinformation is false information designed to mislead. It is unethical rhetoric. Misinformation is incorrect speech, but its effects can be as bad as disinformation. No matter what country you live in, there is always a foreign actor on social media. There are also fake accounts and proxy servers for web pages and email accounts. Sophie Zhang was another whistleblower at Facebook. She discovered and revealed that fake and bot accounts repeatedly fooled and evaded the efforts of Facebook to identify fake accounts. The same thing has happened on Twitter X. Zhang left Facebook in September of 2020 and refused to accept a $64,000 because attached to that offer was the condition that she signed a non-disparagement agreement. In other words, that she kept quiet and stopped telling the truth. What about free speech? Elon Musk first bought 9% of Twitter, making him the largest shareholder. Now he owns the entire company and re-owned it X. He is one of the richest people in the world, and he espouses certain political and social views. At one time, he contemplated starting his own social media company on a libertarian grounds that free speech was being stifled by social media platforms. Now he owns a huge one. Oh, is that where they ended it? Okay. Another case study from Germany. In Germany, there is a case of increasing online hate speech being linked to physical attacks against refugees. I'm literally over them defending the refugee situation. I have watched the refugees, and I don't live in Europe, but Europe is being ruined by refugees. I don't give a crap how offensive that sounds to people, but literally, you watch the refugees and the pro Hamas people marching in the streets and ruining once beautiful nations. Literally 100%, they should talk about the amount of attacks of refugees on the people that actually are from these countries. Germans being attacked by refugees, those numbers are vastly up. Sexual assaults against Germans and Europeans as a whole, those numbers are vastly up. And so for everybody to focus on the refugees constantly instead of the actual citizens of these nations who deserve to be treated better than random people who show up to put their hand out for the social duel and be leeches and frickin' parasites on society, and that is what it is at this point. Like, we should quit pretending. Not every country has an obligation to mass allow in the trash of the world. And that literally, there's legal ways to come. People can come and be productive citizens in other countries. And people could come to other countries with a meaningful plan to actually become part of that other country. We watch people again and again move from third world countries to our nations to demand that we instantly change our nations. That's ridiculous. Okay, so let's read through this crap, since it's going to look at it one-sided, instead of being like, hey, do these refugees bring terrorism to all the countries they come to? Yeah, they do. They bring an increase in rape and crime? Yes, they do. Do they lower the standard of living in the communities they come to? Yes, they do. Maybe we don't want them. In response, the German Justice Minister in 2015, Heiko Maas, wrote an open letter to Facebook stressing the need for more transparent and effective community standards. In other words, don't allow and start suppressing the information on how bad the refugees are destroying the countries they're destroying. Often, users get a message saying that the posts they have reported did not violate community standards without giving any further explanation, even in very obvious cases, according to Maas. I agree, that's true. He says that this standard response has become a farce, and that users were struggling to understand why Facebook is so quick to ban adult nudity, for example, referring to its community standards, but often fails to ban xenophobic and racist posts. See, this is the issue. You can be pro all these evil organizations, but you can't be pro England, pro France, pro Germany, pro like anything else. The Western world isn't allowed to be pro itself. That's literally trash. And I'm going to just be honest, don't agree with it. The implementation of its community standards, Maas, I don't actually know how to say his name properly, says in the letter can apparently not be relied on, even though many posts contain content that contains the criminal offense of inciting hatred. This is bullcrap. The Quran should be banned then. It incites hatred. In fact, Islam as a whole should be banned. It incites hatred. Just going to be honest with you guys. He reminded Facebook that it is legally obligated to delete illegal posts. Yeah. See how this is super one-sided? That was in 2015. What happened in 2018? The Economist reported the internet is not a lawless space where racist abuse and illegal posts can be allowed to flourish, Massey told the social networking giant. But despite Mr. Massey's effort, hate speech has continued to proliferate on German social media. Much of it has been directed to the country's 1.2 million migrants from the Middle East and Africans who are mostly Muslim and ruining their fucking country. Like, anybody that watches the news and wants to pretend that the immigrants have not ruined Europe and most of the Western world is lying to themselves. Like, that just flat out. Europe was much more beautiful 20 years ago. Much more beautiful. Germany passed a law that other European countries adopted, despite Facebook's public stance that the U.S. Congress should regulate social media and the internet better than it currently does. Facebook did not like the regulation in Europe and fought it. The German law provided for 50 million in new fake news fines. Oh, so basically they got a bunch of money out of it. Facebook said that it would require deletion of material that was not clearly illegal. Facebook said that it would require deletion of material that was not clearly illegal. I don't agree with that. If it's not clearly illegal, why are you going to delete it? But this was mild compared to the $50 billion fine levied on Facebook by the Federal Trade Commission in 2019. Here is what the FTC released. I don't really care. I think the FTC takes a bunch of money and doesn't really care anyway. Facebook Inc. will pay a record-breaking $5 billion penalty, submit to the new restrictions and modified corporate structure that will hold the company accountable for decisions it makes about users' privacy, to settle Federal Trade Commission charges that the company violated the 2012 FTC order by deceiving users about the ability to control the privacy of their information. What personal information? So basically, social media companies, you guys, make money off your information. That's what they make money off of. They broker information and they tell people what products you'd be interested into and try to sell stuff. They're marketing companies. That's what they are. For that, we need to go to the story about political action. Donald Trump's campaign in 2016 established a physical office in one of Facebook's buildings. That campaign spent $85 million on Facebook activity to further the campaign. It represented the vast majority of his online spending. I didn't know that. The Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, dissected in the film The Great Hack, and much newspaper and online reporting, is important to recall. Facebook data provided by Cambridge Analytica was also used by Ted Cruz's campaign. Cambridge Analytica had first legitimately contracted to gather data on 270,000 Facebook users, but then, unknown to those users and to their Facebook friends, Facebook and Cambridge Analytica also reaped data on the Facebook friends of those who had initially agreed to the data collection. Even those additional Facebook friends had never agreed and did not even know what was going on. The result, Facebook and Cambridge Analytica harvested available data from 87 million individual accounts, about 70 million of which were held by American citizens. Psychographics profiles were created. The Trump campaign paid for these in September, October, and November of 2016, then placed targeted ads directed at individuals and groups based on their psychographic profiles, ads that often contain false statements. That is what's done in politics. That's zero shock to me. This is covered in the documentary The Great Hack. You can see the trailer for the film here. The $5 billion FTC settlement was the result of that personal information collected by Cambridge Analytica in the service of Trump's campaign. Trump's campaign itself paid no fines. The Facebook did not contest the fine. Rather, it paid more than it was required and reported by Forbes magazine. Why? In order to shield Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Meta, parent company of Facebook, from personal liability. Why would he have personal liability in it? Some shareholders sued the company, yet the FCC fine basically did not change the way Facebook does business. Although more shareholders sued after the revelation of Frances Haugen, Facebook never took legal responsibility for its behavior. If you can, please watch The Social Dilemma by Tristan Harris. Here is the trailer for Social Dilemma, a docudrama released in 2020. I might watch that later. I'll just be honest. I don't know if I will. Algorithms and their basis affect their internet media can cause events. how internet media can cause events. Algorithms and their bias affect how internet media can cause events. I don't understand how, oh, they're going to get into predictive. Okay, algorithms don't predict the future. They cause the future. I don't agree. For example, algorithms on setting bail have shown in some cases that to be based on racial prejudice and therefore to reinforce systemic racial injustice. I'm trying to understand how an algorithm on setting bail could be racist unless there's a racial disparity in the types of crimes being committed, and that's its own thing. I mean, but there could be something I'm not understanding in a deeper issue that, you know what I mean? There's always a chance of a deeper issue you're not understanding. For more information, you may also wish to view the interview by Yuval Noah Harari and Tristan Harris by Wired Magazine. Image credits. Refugee post on social media and anti-refugee incitement over time via fanning the flames of hate, social media, and hate crimes by Kirsten Miller and blah blah. And Carlos Schwartz. Sorry, I called him blah blah blah. I shouldn't do that. Okay, honestly, I'm read out right here. I think this is a good place to call it right here. Let's look at our progress, see where we are. I need to go back and retouch in the other areas where we have done stuff. See, look, we can't even really see where we are. Let's look here. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. We're in this section. We've knocked through all these other sections. The green arrow isn't on. I'll have to figure out why the green arrow isn't on those. But it looks like we're really getting closer and closer. And then I've already almost finished through these. I'm going to watch through the rest of these lecture videos probably tonight or tomorrow. I don't honestly know. I have a couple more hours of watching through classes to get through before we're done. So far, this has been an absolutely great course, though, just so you guys know. I mean, it is a little leftist leaning, which I'm not shocked because Harvard is kind of a leftist leaning school, but we'll move forward. Very educational class, super informative, and actually I would recommend it. I do think that there's some bias in it, but of course there's biases in me, so we all balance out. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I hope you guys have a great day on your own. Peace and very best wishes.